Let's face it, we suck at staying in shape.
But this year, we're going to get our bodies
And our minds into a better place.
Join us on our journey to wellness.
And no matter what happens,
We'll see you in health. Hey, Willie,
yeah,
you look a
Scott.
little tired.
I'm exhausted.
I'm not supposed to say that to a woman.
What the hell does that mean?
You're just not supposed to ask people or tell people to their face that look tired. But we tell the truth here on this podcast. And you, sir,
This is the only podcast where you're going to find the truth.
we are fair and balanced. Like
Do
the
your
scales.
research.
Anyway, your eyes look like they're packing for an overnight trip. Where have you been? How have you been? What have you been?
Who have you been? I don't know what to tell you. I'm tired. I think today we're going to talk about like some mental health stuff. And the best way I can define this is like, this would be a day to practice self-compassion. Just being kind to yourself.
Okay.
Because right now I'm so judgmental. Like, I ate an ice cream bar, and all I'm thinking to myself is, you fat fuck, what the fuck is wrong with you? And the worst part, listener, is so is Scott.
I have a whiteboard, like 8x10, that I write comments about Willie down while we're recording. And then I hold it up to Willie as we're recording, just off camera, so only he can see. So that's our relationship.
Yep. Feels bad, man. So, Scott, before I start talking about some mental health stuff, let's do our check-in. Tell us about the
right.
week. How did this week go for you?
Previous week, I lost 3 pounds. I was feeling great. I'm like, all right, I just have to do this a few more times, and I'm literally back to my goal weight. But as it turns out, I still lost, but I didn't lose as much. I only lost half a pound. Now, some people who are on the other side of this recording might say,
Excuse me?
I don't feel that great. I don't feel good about this. I was a big loser, and now I'm just a little loser. Well, tell you what, you want to be a loser no matter what. If you are at a higher weight than what you actually dream to be, you have to be a loser for however long it takes. And you have to swallow that pill no matter what.
Glug, glug.
However long or however it takes to get that glizzy, you just got to do it.
Whatever it takes.
I am more than pleased that I lost anything. And Willie can attest to this. I have been attending the gym many more times than I was in prior weeks. Yeah, it's going good. I feel that I definitely was a little tottering on my food this past week versus the previous week, which is why it was only half a pound. But I'm definitely practicing eat till I am 80% full going into our 30-day food challenge.
So, I love that.
Oh, yeah?
Doctor Strange to Captain America, whatever it takes. And then the next thing you see is just this big purple ass. And then Cap put his head around and go, whatever it takes. Zip.
Oh, my God.
Anyways, that's
Okay.
where I am at right now.
All right. Willie is so hungry that he's thinking about ube
some Thanos glizzy.
cheeks.
And I know, but I think we both agree that it was probably the amount of sodium I consumed based on last week's meal prep. I decided to take a lunch break this week and have tuna, cottage cheese, and I was like, let's get some of that like ranch seasoning powder. My God, the amount of sodium. It was unbearable.
Now, when you just put those 3 things together, tuna, cottage cheese, and ranch powder, it doesn't exactly scream, let's see you in health.
You made me choose tuna. You did this.
I said you should try it. And you did. And you found out that it doesn't work.
I'll see you in health, you little... I don't know what I'm going to do. For lunch, I think I'm just probably going to have to not eat again. Like, I'm just going to take the next 30 days and just be like, I'm done.
Just fast again for another 30 days. Hey, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
I wrote out my meal plan today. I am going to eat this, and it's going to be hard to prep everything because I'm not used to cooking for myself for like a week straight. My wife is not going to participate in this challenge. She has decided. So she's a little bummed because I'm the primary cook in the family. But at the same time, I said, it's fine if you don't want to support me in this challenge by doing it. But are you saying you don't want to support my health and longevity?
This sounds like, Scott, you're giving her an exercise in inclusion and diversity by empowering her to be a self-sufficient woman, not needing to rely on another person for her food.
Let alone a man.
The next thing we know, Scott's going to sign up to be a kicker in the NFL.
Oh, I get that now.
That took too long to realize that one.
I have been watching so many football teams' schedule releases. It took a second to put things together. It's just been a lot. I had a pretty decent week. You are in a space where I think it's going to get better because I think this eating challenge, we've got a couple more days before it officially starts here. I think it's going to be good for you. And then I'm going to make a prediction right now that in 30 days, you will be down 7 pounds.
7 pounds? You think a pound? Wait, 30? So you think 2 pounds a week?
Yeah, because I know how much you work out, and I know how much you overeat.
What?
And I only say it's overeating because that's what you have said has been your consistent struggle.
Correct. Yeah. Just zoom back to episode number 1. That's my biggest issue.
Yep. And this control is going to shock your body into burning maybe the right things rather than just using all that extra food you consume. You know how it works. We're not doctors or dietitians. We just know what other people on the internet tell us.
Listen, based on what Google's doing, I don't even think we should be sitting here. There's much smarter people doing what we want to do. Did you see the video that I sent you?
I think we have a new job as of today, though, where we just go get a textbook and we sell it to kids.
Listen,
not the textbook itself.
You and me, we have nothing to do with children.
Okay, we sell it to college adults.
Just say no, kids.
Tell me about this mental health stuff.
Okay. So, my quick touch base for the week, by the way, it's a bad week, but it's fine. I'm gonna refocus. Everything's gonna move forward. So, I've been going through this weekly skill building course through a therapist.
Oh, huh? Adult doesn't mean naked.
I mean, I was naked. I was Donald Ducking it because they can't really see the bottom half. So it was great for me. Now, what I want to share with you, Scott, is kind of 5 themes of things that we should practice going into the remainder of this, not just the monthly challenge, but this overall journey we're stepping into. Journey. And so the first concept that I want to talk about is like just witnessing our own mind, being able to be an observer of some of the negative speak or some of the things that we're thinking about.
So roll my eyes back into my head as far as they can go. Look at my brain.
There's metaphors and then there's Scott. All right, buddy, you'll figure it out. The second thing I want to talk about is going to be developing compassion and self-love. This is something that I need to focus on right now. We're going to talk about understanding your reality.
Okay.
The fourth one, using healthy boundaries. And I'm not talking about doors. I'm talking about mental
Borders.
boundaries.
Are you talking about borders, Willie? A border crisis we're suffering from right
Build that wall. And the fifth one is all going to be about self-care. So it's going to tie everything back together.
now? Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Okay, so Scott, let's start by like witnessing our own mind. And so from a non-professional standpoint, there are real therapists out there that you should go take courses from if you want time
Better
to
health?
the first thing I want to talk about is like, how would you define being activated?
Well, somebody reads me a string of words that seemingly don't make sense, and then I wake up in a foreign country with a bunch of money in a duffel sack.
In a duffel sack?
Duffel bag?
A bag? Duffel bag.
A bag.
You're still in Minnesota.
satchel,
With that
yeah.
accent, maybe the Dakotas. That's it. Like, this guy. Now the real answer.
Oh, I was in the major leagues and I got hurt, and so I'm on the injured reserve, but the doctor said I'm cleared to play, so now I am ready to be activated.
Those are all real definitions. The one that I'm looking for when we talk about mental health
I have
is
no idea.
when something happens that
Wait.
resembles a past challenging experience in your life, your brain gets activated and it moves into what is called a less integrated brain state. Think of it like fight or flight. You go from being able to like consciously process what's happening to all of a sudden it's like, I need to get the fuck out of here, or I'm going to fight this person.
All right, and this is for both sides of the aisle. Is this a woke way to say triggered?
No, I think it's the more formal term. Triggered
Okay.
is the less formal. It's like saying penis and give me that glizzy, daddy.
I see. I
Triggered
understand.
So, generally when we get activated, right? This is a moment
Okay.
where we're like something happened in your childhood, generally a non-positive thing. You have fight and flight, and that would be, what does like fight look like to you?
Fight is something where you have to defend yourself, or you feel the need to be vocally in opposition to the thing that is activating you.
And flight?
Flight means you have to remove yourself from the situation. Like, you know what? I literally will do the fight thing if I don't do the flight thing. It's like you just get up, leave, like, because you just can't handle it. Like Karens yelling at cashiers for ringing up the wrong thing or not accepting a coupon that expired 15 years ago. Like, that's the thing that makes me want to fight.
Yeah.
To flight.
Flight, another way that you can like flee in like a social situation is to get into a place where you're judging others.
Tell me more.
Because this creates a psychological distance between you and the actions of another person.
Okay.
So imagine you and I are at the gym. We're feeling like a little self-conscious there, and something gets activated. We see somebody that's doing something stupid, and now all of a sudden we're going to use judgment.
Oh,
Yep.
interesting.
Now, the key to this is so that I can get into the ones that are a little less common. Freeze is the third one. This is like being tense, frozen, deer in headlights.
Shut down.
This is the thing that leads to most depression. Low energy, lack of motivation, sleeping issues. Those are all just like, I'm done. I'm out. I have completely let myself go.
This is all freezing.
That is
Or
freeze. Yep.
Stems from freeze. Okay.
But then there's another one called attach.
Can you give me an example? Can you use it in the form of a sentence?
It involves like feeling like others are judging you to the extent that you are like, this is the only person that can help me. You're the only person that can get me out of this situation. Please help me. I need you. I can't. And so where I see this in my job is when somebody is worried about something and they come to me and they're like, I can't do this. Like, please help me. I feel like I'm going to fail. And what they're doing is they're looking for me to be the savior for them because they don't want to be the one to do it.
Okay. This is called attach. You're trying to get somebody else to take care of this situation so that you do not have to.
The last one under this, like, witnessing yourself is appease or being submissive.
Tell me more.
This is the one that Scott really loves. This is something that I do. I tend...
And this is why we have such a good relationship.
Hello? Let me give you a great example. For Mother's Day weekend, I went to my family's and like Bree and I had set a boundary that we wanted to leave by 5:30.
Okay.
We got there at like noon and we're like 5 hours is more than enough. We want to go home. We want to like be able to relax the rest of the night. Well, then all of a sudden they started like making dinner super late. We were supposed to eat at like 2. We didn't start making food until 5. And Bree sends me a message and was like, this is it. You hit the time. And so this is where the appease part of me comes in, where it's just like, I don't want to upset anybody, even though it's going to negatively impact me for the rest of my day and the boundaries and things that I want to be able to do, right? Because we only get to speak for ourselves, Scott.
Right.
I submit to the situation. I'm like, okay, well, I'm in it. I'm not going to say shit. I think Minnesotans do this a lot.
You needed to start your Minnesota goodbye at 4 o'clock minimum, maybe 3:30. That's where, for people who are not from Minnesota, that's where you go around the room and say goodbye to everybody. But instead of saying like, hey, we're checking out, see you later, and actually leaving, you're like, hey, see you later. It was good to see you. Remember that time where we like laundry downtown and we didn't have any quarters and we had to go buy like something to get change from the McDonald's, but I ended up having like a really good 20-piece deal, and like, you just go on and on and on and like you just reminisce. And then it takes you like 15 minutes and then you move to the next person and say, all right, it's good seeing you. Hey, why don't we get together and make plans? And it's just another 15 minutes. So that's why I'm saying, depending on how many people are in the room, you might have to start your goodbyes 2 hours early before you actually get out the front door.
Oh, totally. Let's say you're in a stressful situation and you're like,
okay,
I'm fucking angry, or you're just like, I'm starting to zone out. There's a 1-minute exercise. And you just ask yourself this, like, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What are the sensations in my body right now? Like, do I have a stomach ache? Does my head hurt? Are my eyes unfocused? What behaviors do I notice? I went through a stressful situation at work. I started asking myself these questions. I got to, what behaviors do I notice? And I noticed that I was frantically shaking my leg. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly I'm triggered by something here.
Yeah.
And then what memories or images is this bringing up?
Oh. Is there... What part of the review thing is where you go into your car and you scream? With the windows up or down?
Yeah, that's about self-love. And the only time I was told that we're allowed to scream is just at the climax.
Okay. You made the joke before I did about self-love. I just want to bring that up here, folks.
Oh, so hard. Speaking of developing self-love, let's talk about that second concept. Are you paying attention to yourself?
Before we move on, can we just do a quick review on the things?
Yes, questions? The defense responses.
The defense responses.
Oh, okay. So the first one is like when you're activated, your brain goes through 5 different things. Fight.
Mm-hmm.
Or flight.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze. Attach. And Scott's favorite, submit.
Always have a safe word.
Ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What are the sensations in my body? What behaviors do I notice? And then what memories are being brought up?
I think that's because this would help so many people who have never heard of this. I know I do this in my everyday life just from like years and years of practice. I've never heard it put like this in the official therapeutic terms, but it's been an inward focus thing that I've done. Usually at like, I don't know, when I wake up or at the end of the day, I just kind of do a little self-review. Like, how did this situation go? Or like, why did I do that? Why am I thinking like that? In really stressful situations, I have been known to go into this in the moment where I'll pull myself away, go hang out in a bathroom or a quiet place so that I can say, hey, buddy, what's going on? Why aren't you winning the game? So thank you for sharing that, Willie. That first section is really powerful.
Thank you. Let's talk about self-love and compassion. I want to simplify this into 2 areas, and it's all about self-worth. Let me put you in a situation. You're in a conversation with somebody. It's getting heated. They're talking to you about, it's a debate about all of the MCU films, either good or bad, right? And you have a stance.
I feel activated right now, Willie.
I know you do. Because what they're saying is that, what's the fucking one that came out, the first one in COVID? The movie, the Indecencies, the Inception.
The Eternal?
The Eternals. They're saying the Eternals is the best movie of all of them.
That's going to be coming up.
So all of us have like an inherent self-worth, meaning like you're good just existing. You are worthy of being alive in this moment.
I'm with you.
Now, what happens next when you pivot from like out of that, either up or down, generally it's attributed to self-esteem issues.
Yep.
So like self-esteem things could be like performance-based. Believing your worth is all from like accomplishments.
Okay.
Believing it's because of behaviors, right?
Yeah.
A person with performance-based esteem is hypercritical of their imperfections and the imperfections of those around them.
Yes, I'm aware.
Maybe it's attribute-based self-esteem. So like a hyper focus on how much you have compared to others.
Star-bellied sneeches, yes.
How does your appearance, wealth, profession as a way to feel better than others?
Okay. I do all of these things.
I know.
That's why we go to the gym.
Self-esteem, like other based, as in like it's one word, hyphenated word. This is when you focus on the opinions of others. Believe your worth comes from others valuing you.
Ah, all right.
Like you'll use those affirmations from others as a way to feel like you're enough.
Enough.
Yep.
It took me several years to get over that. But I broke through that wall like the Kool-Aid man, where I stopped caring what others thought of me.
Yeah. I love this because there's this issue that therapists see in the profession, which is like they hear people say that it took me years, or there's this myth that it's possible to raise or lower your own self-esteem.
You can't do it.
Because if we actually just accept that we are worthy simply because we exist, it's more accurate to say that we are either in connection with the truth that we are inherently worthy or we're not. It's not about letting things go and being willing to just admit to yourself that, yeah, I'm enough right now.
I'm here. because I am, and nothing else has any sort of say. Wow.
So here's the things that people do, just to be an observer and try to answer this for yourself. People will either go one up or one down when they're feeling inherently like not worthy or having self-esteem issues. So one up would be like feeling superior, holding power over another person, harassing, blaming, or shaming somebody.
Being a bully?
The big one, violating somebody else's boundaries.
Yeah.
Like
your family
a bully
did.
in school.
Oh, not like your family did the other day?
Did you ever have a thing when you were growing up, either to yourself or to others, where like you'd see a bully picking on somebody and they're saying, stop, stop, stop?
I was the one who was bullied, Willie.
So that bully is having self-esteem issues where they're one-upping you.
Yeah,
it's the
totally.
simplest version.
Yeah, somebody picked on them and they're just displaying that behavior because they saw power in that moment. And so the only way they feel enough is to demonstrate those actions on somebody else.
In some other ways too, though, like being defensive is one up.
Because that person isn't getting anything from you, and you don't actually have to be in touch with what's bothering you. You're holding it all inside like a man should.
You probably have seen this one before, but a lack of empathy or difficult with others people's vulnerability.
Oh, lack of empathy is what kills the world. The entire planet.
For me, it's about like being a perfectionist.
Okay.
Because like I want things to look perfect. Like I am such an overachiever at some of the things that I like that I treat other people's like inability to design something as like, oh God.
Interesting.
Now, people also go one down.
Yeah? What about it?
Maybe it's being perceived as inferior, considering yourself inadequate to others. We've done this at the gym. Like, Jesus
Willie,
Christ, look at how buff that dude is.
Why are you describing my mirror right now?
External dependencies, seeking validation from others' opinions or approval. Like, do I look good in this hat?
Okay, so you were practicing that yesterday, preparing me for the show.
Called receiving love.
I feel this is a huge one that not a lot of people take the time to realize that they are putting up the walls that they so desperately want to have down.
Yep. Social withdrawals. This is like avoiding social interactions. And it's different from being an introvert.
It is.
Social withdrawals is like you consciously make a choice to like not go to dinner with somebody or not go to that family thing because of fear of rejection or judgment. It's not crossing a boundary. It's just like, I don't want to actually be judged in this way.
This is probably where a lot of the flakiness of certain people come into play. Like, it's not like they don't want to hang out with you, but they're maybe having these other things that are just over encumbering them.
So let me summarize this part for you. Self-love and compassion. Self-worth refers to like an assessment of your own value. Compassion is treating yourself with kindness and understanding and care. Remember, we all have inherent self-worth. It's not that you need to impose being better than somebody else to get your worth or being less than to show that you have less worth than somebody else. It's just existing. That's it. And so some of the ways that you can overcome going one up or one down, it's just giving yourself words of affirmation.
Billionaires are still better than us, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Without question. This list says if your financial situation is below this line, this applies. Anything else, unrelated.
Yeah, if you have this much money or more, you don't have to pay attention to us.
But no, Barbie did cover this really well. Saying I am Knuff, I think, is the summary of your self-worth. Like,
Yeah.
go watch that movie, and it summarizes that second section.
Yes, and it was way better than Oppenheimer.
Get out of here.
Activated.
All right, Scott. This one, it gets more complex. These get harder.
Those first two, honestly, I feel like there were small hurdles, like very short hurdles. I've definitely gone through all of that unprofessionally, and I feel like I'm with you. So when you say it's about to get more complex, are we talking like Maze Runner? You know, the walls shift and move, Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire thing. Like, what are we talking about?
It's more like Oppenheimer, Scott. So let me ask the first question. What is reality?
Virtual? Augmented? I'm not a physicist.
Okay, good. That's what we needed to hear.
All right.
Moving on. This section all was about shaming Scott. No. So reality, there's two that I want us to think about. One is an objective reality. This refers to anything that just exists, independent of any conscious awareness of it. Right? It doesn't
Yes.
matter what somebody's perceptions are or what their thoughts are. This is an objective reality.
The thing in my hand is a rock. I can put the stone in your hand. You can feel it. It is a rock. It is made of these chemicals, minerals, etc. It's objective.
Yep, it is scientifically measurable.
All right.
Laws of nature. The earth is round.
Allegedly.
And then there are personal realities. And this is where the flat earthers exist. Personal realities refer to the concepts that you experience reality and that reality is subjective from one person to another.
And can I give you my joke now? Earlier, you had asked a question, and this answer to the question that you asked earlier is, what is a metaphor?
What?
Meta is for virtual reality. Oh, feels
God.
good. It's
That
good to
was
get off my
worth the
chest.
wait, Scott.
Sponsors line up. We've got a line around the door.
Where do those come from for you? What does your experience of reality come from?
Imagination.
Yep. Thoughts and perceptions.
Your thoughts and perceptions, like, would it be kind of like your morals and your upbringing and stuff, like those influences on you?
Your
shape
past
our-
experiences, memories, emotional knowing, your senses. So think about it. Your reality is different than my reality because
100%.
you lack some ability to hear. And so reality for you is different.
Yeah, all music is bad. Why are you even playing that guitar, Kurt Cobain? When did you get so bad?
What about like body sensations, like what you're feeling, maybe urges, threat responses? Like my reality is that I'm always fucking hungry. But then there's like a skinny person who's like, I don't think about food ever. So
Yes, urges are definitely something that will affect my reality. Every single time I see a really cool car, I have the urge to go into my bedroom and cry because I don't have enough money to own that fancy car. Every time I see ice cream, I get activated back to when I was a younger kid and I couldn't have ice cream because my parents said no. And now that I'm an adult with my own money, every time I see ice cream, I'm like, yes, I can.
I think about it like as that guy that was on that radio show and talked about like everybody poops in their hand.
I must have, with the lack of hearing, missed that syndicated radio show.
And he goes, you like you have to block it from hitting the water. So like you put your hand there, you catch the poop, and then you go wash your hand.
What? Why was he catching the poop?
Listen, man, that's his reality.
Okay.
So it's important that we make sense of this by paying attention to ourselves, right? We talked about that in the first part, is like being a good observer to yourself.
Yes.
And so part of this is reflecting on the day. Do you journal ever?
Sometimes I have a journal. I like to audio record myself. This is kind of like a journal of my life, what we do here. Not everybody does this.
I think this is a good journal.
I don't do it every single day, but I have a reminder that says, hey, if you wanted to journal, you could talk about this because you were at this location today, or you had this on your calendar. What was that like? How did that go? And so it's a way for me to remind myself, like, yes, let's spend some time. I don't feel the need to necessarily write it down, but let's reflect.
Let's talk about this briefly. Here's some of the things that you should pay attention to when talking about this really fluid reality, which is not just like there's this myth that stuff like shit happens, you perceive it,
Gets on your hand.
now that's your reality, right?
Yep.
But that's not like reality is so moldable because our brain takes in millions of stuff all the time,
Lots
every
of
single
things.
second.
Yep.
It gets filtered through just like an assessment of like, am I okay? Am I not okay? Do I have a memory that matches what just happened? Do I have these neural pathways that have like put all of these emotions together? And then we make up a meaning. Have you ever said like somebody said something and I swear to God, they're talking about me? Your
all right.
fear about going to the gym is
Yes.
that all these people are looking at you. And that, oh, when you got to the gym, there's all these old people. And that made you feel safer because you're the young, cool one that's getting in shape. And there's less bodybuilders and fit people around you, even if it wasn't anybody else's.
Yeah. Partly true, yes. My big fear was more that I didn't like the way I looked. I was too many downs, not enough ups.
too down. Got to get off your knees, Scott.
Real low on that totem pole there. It makes sense. Yes, I understand this. I get it. I follow. I'm
Okay.
here.
So I'm going to give you some things that you can do. Here's your action steps. Accepting that your thoughts and feelings are not always true.
Correct.
Like, oh God, I was totally wrong. Like I had these opinions and maybe this isn't real. Remembering that others' thoughts are not always about you.
I am literally the Mad Men guy in the elevator meme where they say, you guys up in advertising must think we're beneath you. And he says, I don't think about you at all.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. This is the one that people don't want to do, especially now that we're
wanna
getting
do
into
it.
like this political season.
I want to do it.
Scott, practice radical acceptance of other people's thoughts and feelings.
I already do. I'm already there. It's hard sometimes, though, when you look at the people who are always painted in bad light. Because you have to recognize that there's biases. You have to recognize that people are pushing agendas for certain reasons. And so, like, to look at the flip side of the coin and humanize them is, it's something that's more difficult now than I feel it was a long time ago when we didn't have said biases.
Mm-hmm.
Quick, Willie.
It's like when you
say 3 nice things about Donald Trump right now.
He's persistent. He's alive.
That's not nice. All right, I'll accept it.
Sure. Yep. People worship him.
Okay. All right. You're just acknowledging something. You heard it here first. Willie loves Trump.
And then the last one is identify and process your emotions or be ruled by them.
Which is all the people who support Donald Trump.
Step number 4. Whew, we've gone through it today, man.
There's so much.
This is about using healthy boundaries. You've probably heard, like, if anybody has been to therapy, they've been like, I use healthy boundaries. Here's some examples of what a protective boundary is. Filtering what you hear and deciding what you let in. Think of it as like you're holding a baseball glove and somebody's going to say some shit. You grab it, you look at it and say, I don't want this, and you throw it back. Or you say, cool, thank you. I appreciate that.
Shake it off.
Reminding yourself that they get to be different too.
Oh, big one. Real big one.
Advocating for yourself.
Yes. That is what I would describe if you had asked what Boundaries 101 is.
Backing up or moving away when you don't want somebody in your space.
Do you know how I grew to combat this one? I don't mind if people get into my space. I've actually had to teach myself to like get out of their space, so to speak, or because like if somebody like gets too close to me, like I'm fine. You're all trapped inside here with me kind of mentality.
So you've popped your bubble and said, come on, bring it on.
Water's fine.
Clear about what those boundaries are. Being respectful when you do it.
That has been a huge challenge for me, just vocalizing that type of need. Because for the longest time, I would say up until about 3 years ago, the conversation was never really, hey guys, you should really like share your feelings. And I'm speaking more about like the male side of things. Specifically, be tough, hold everything inside, go see a therapist, tell no one about it, and continue on that path where you are just quiet and strong. But in reality, if we just actually acted compassionately towards ourselves and shared the things that we were feeling, there'd probably be a lot more people that would be understanding and open up many more doors in terms of solidifying relationships with everyone.
Yeah. Like protective boundaries are important. It's something that you should use with everyone. Don't be selective about this. So
What
even
about my mom?
Your family members, your husbands, your wives, partners, best friends. Because guess what, Scott? All humans are moody, imperfect, inconsistent, and will violate the fuck out of your boundaries.
Am I violating a boundary by joining you at the gym every other day, Willie?
Sometimes I will need that, and I need to be better at asking for that.
Tell me, because I know you were doing that by yourself for a long time. I will admit to you that I needed you in that situation. I needed you to be that person for me. Like I couldn't do without you. How's that feel? Daddy?
Oh, it feels good. Now, here's the one that you and me are, I would say, this doesn't mean that we're better than people.
But we are.
We get to be the mattress in a shitty hotel for this boundary.
Gross.
And this is about containment. Because we work retail, we get the uncontained people. And so a containment boundary is that all humans should be able to contain their feelings, their thoughts, choose how to be respectful of their behaviors.
Some people choose not to.
Yeah. And so let me give you some examples of containment boundaries all of us should be respectful, offering feedback, and only do it if you get consent.
That makes sense.
Yep. Speak moderately and calmly so that like you are known and you're not being like walled off. Refrain from interrupting, taking up too much of the conversational space, or even oversharing. How many times, Scott, has somebody told you far too many intimate details about themselves?
Yeah. And then I started a podcast with him.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. Activated.
Monitoring your tone of voice, facial expressions, and behaviors. We often say, like, some people wear their emotions on their skin. Maybe sometimes
Sleeves.
just be a bit more like Dumbledore, which is like, you might be screaming and yelling inside while Harry is destroying your room, but you are calm and contained.
Harry, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you put your name in the goblet? You could tell me. It's fine. I won't get mad.
We'll figure it out. And
Not
instead, he...
Shake him like a rag doll.
Harry, you little shit! Did you do this? Oh my God. I just want to like really briefly talk about some things that are like violations, making somebody feel less worthy,
When you
mocking,
first
attacking
described...
somebody, interrupting.
Yeah, interrupting, sorry. But when you first described what we were about to talk about as a hotel mattress and then said containment, I thought you were mispronouncing contaminant. It makes sense. I get it now.
So boundary violations, Scott, we're talking about like the psychological ones. Attempting to control or manipulate another person.
Let me tell you, once you realize that you have the ability to manipulate someone, it is a power that, you know, I get why it's hard for people to give it up. It's very attractive. It makes you feel very good about yourself. And I know from personal experience that I had to step way back from using tactics that I had learned to become a better negotiator, become more confident, like be a more manly man. Because I was very close to using them for evil.
Dude, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You feel powerful, right? I think this is why billionaires aren't in this course.
That's right.
I also want to say like some other psychological like boundary violations are lying or misleading somebody or breaking a commitment to somebody for no reason. Like, hey, can you do the dishes? And then you just fucking
Say
not.
yes.
Yep. I think it's easy to understand what some of the physical boundary violations would be, like violence, threats, things that laws protect us against.
Right.
Touching people.
Gross.
Looking at you, comedians.
They just touch
Smoking
themselves.
in non-smoking areas, violating privacy. All those gross things.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, and this is something that I don't think you and me need to be like super aware of because we've been talking about this for the last 10 plus years, which is choosing who we keep close, choosing our circles.
We've done a very good job.
You've got, starting at the beginning, your inner circle. These people are going to know everything about you. They're the people you keep super close. And so that might be a husband or a wife.
What if it's just you? Because there are people who will argue that you never reveal your true self to anybody else.
I would say, like, if you don't have a family member or a loved one, then find a professional, like a therapist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then you have your close circle. And these are people you'll like, they should be trustworthy, respectful, dependable, have a lot of the same shared values as you. It is possible to have many close relationships, or in my case, just a few. The key here is that you agree to have frequent contact, depth in conversation, and you get to feel pretty confident in who you are. Now, the next circle is your acquaintances.
Everybody you work with.
These are the people that you're going to be pleasant around. You're going to have common interests with you, maybe the same community or workplace. These are people that you might see regularly or maybe even rarely. You're not currently trying to move the relationship deeper, and you're just satisfied with some light contact. Then the outer circle. This is the one, Scott, that I think most people stop at. There's one level after this, and that's the level I learned from you. But the outer circle is maybe people who, and this could end up being friends or family too, by the way. These are people that you lack interest in bringing them closer because they've been disrespectful, they're incompatible with you, they're not bringing value in, they've crossed boundaries. It's like your chosen family versus your actual family. This would be an example of that kind of story of like, you can choose your family, right?
You can pick your friends, but you can't pick their nose.
Well, is the people you cut off.
You send them into outer space, and you never talk to them again. They cease to exist.
If they don't bring value to my life, they're not worthy of being around me.
They're not worthy of your energy.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of people that fear this one because like they feel like it's wrong to cut somebody off, but you do get to make that choice. That is a right of yours.
It's hard. It is a very difficult thing to do, to move on from certain relationships. So long as we both shall live.
Sounds like a marriage. Good God. And I want to end it by talking about self-care.
You were practicing that right before we started recording.
I was taking a nap.
And that other thing.
What? Yeah, and so I'm going to break a boundary. Scott, take a look at this photo.
Uh-oh.
It's my penis.
What are you talking about? I swear to God, if you show me a picture with you holding your poop, I'm quitting the podcast.
I never want to see somebody else's poop.
I know. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Look how healthy or not healthy that I am.
No, I'm not actually sending you a picture.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of confusion, there is some confusion about self-care.
It shouldn't be just massages.
Exactly. In the US, the mainstream view of self-care is like treating yourself, indulging. I'm on holiday, and so I can drink 4 bottles of wine.
Oh.
That's not what this is about. It's about like taking care of ourselves. And so like it's fair to say that real self-care is not selfish. Like if somebody says like, oh, don't be selfish, come hang out with us, or don't ask for help. Asking for help means you're weak. That can be self-care.
Yeah, you're not lazy. You're re-energizing yourself or preventing all these activations from causing you to spiral downward more. It's just like you're free to do whatever you want, to be in control for a little bit.
All right. So I'm going to give you a list. And these are things. It kind of feels like that to an extent. These are some ways to tend to ourselves that have some healthy limits, right? Go to sleep on time.
But I don't wanna.
We've all done that. Like we don't have to, Scott, binge the entire series
Of X-Men 97?
I haven't finished the last episode. Please don't tell me anything.
I'm going to violate a boundary right now and tell you it.
Eating healthy food.
But I don't wanna.
This is why we do this show. This show
Yes.
is literally self-care for us. Saying no to others when you're depleted.
I do that all the time.
Scott, this is hard to hear.
But I have done that so many times where I'm just like, I feel so worn out. I feel so broken down. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rally and go do this thing so I don't get some FOMO.
Here's a really good example of something that like I want to recognize you for, something you do really well. And it sucks for me, but it is a boundary that you were clear about. Let's say somebody says, hey, next month I'm moving. And you say, sorry, I'm busy. I've got this family thing. You start making up excuses like you're telling this story of like, I can't do it. Scott, what do you say? Because I've asked you this. Scott, I'm moving next month.
Hire a moving service.
So, Scott, you're saying no.
I didn't say no. I was giving you the best solution for someone of your advanced age, Willie.
Normal. And it's something that we should do for self-care is just confidently saying, no, I don't want to. In a nice way, right? Like, hey, do you want to go out for drinks tonight? No.
Thank you.
I want to take care of myself.
Anything
I don't feel like
else?
doing that. Yep.
Yeah. That's the one thing that it's hard for them to hear. No. Because they think it's a slight towards them or their idea. Like, you come up with this really good idea. Willie, I think it would be really fun if we went to Top Golf tonight when they turn the lights down, we get the heater on, and we get to play with all the cool lights. But that's a boundary violation for you because we have to wake up at the ass crack of dawn to get to the gym to accomplish a long-term goal that we have set in place. And even though it would be fun and like we'd probably have a really good time, we would hate ourselves the next day, and you might hate me even more for coming up with the idea, and then hate yourself even more for agreeing to the idea. If somebody rejects you, think about, let's go back to the first step. If somebody rejects you for going out or hanging out, just accept that the other person may need this boundary more so than they need your idea.
Totally. And if they continue to do it, you move them to a different circle.
That's right.
Because you also have your own boundaries, right? And if somebody is not going to be there for you when you need them, then you're incompatible. And so like this is part of what this is like accepting the moment and the situation. Yeah. And so like here's some other things that I think people struggle with. Exercise, like that is self-care. Setting up doctor's appointments and dentist appointments.
I set up a doctor's appointment for myself.
Using a financial plan.
Oh, it took me way too long to do that. But if you're listening to this podcast and you don't have a financial plan or planner, stop, press pause, go to NerdWallet and sign up for something.
When I get to the bottom of this list, I'm going to reflect on something for a second. But, Americans, we suck at this one. Expressing your sexual desire.
I don't know how.
By the way, it also means honoring your limits and others, right? Like, it is totally human for us to be like, I want to fuck.
I think my upbringing is repressing me from like even making jokes about this right now. Like, I'm activated right now, Willie. I can feel it.
Nice. That's not what we meant when we talk about activated.
Okay.
Put it down. Turn it off. Light switch off. Let me give you an example that's not us, right? Like, I don't want to cross that boundary with you, Scott. We're not going to talk about you and your wife. But we've heard
we
this
should be
all
able
the
to.
time. Growing up, every sitcom, every show, every freaking adult would be like, the man just wants sex and the woman doesn't, right?
That's the trope, yeah.
Really expressing sexual desire.
Patriarchal, whatever.
It's one.
Patriarchal and puritanical rules.
Yeah. Yep. So just like, you know what? If you're in that type of relationship, state it loud and proud.
And if you're
This is what my needs
in
are.
a relationship with Harrison Butker, get out of it.
Get out.
Get out
Boundaries.
right now. Run.
You're not going to expect it to be on something about self-care, keeping commitments, and arriving on time.
Willie, what time did we say we were going to record today?
What time did you show up at the gym, Scott?
What time did you show up to every podcast we've ever recorded?
Hey, I'm early sometimes.
That's what I've heard.
I think it's about 50-50, to be fair. Self-care is going up to somebody and asking for a hug. The right people in the right circles, but
Yes.
that's okay.
Human touch is necessary, but consensual.
Participate in community things. Share skills, knowledge, resources. That's what we're doing right now. That would fall under like that spiritual side of self-care, is like sharing our knowledge. When Scott and I first sat down to talk about podcasting, our goal was to make people smarter, one dumb story after another.
Yeah. However you want to do it, as long as it's not harmful to others. And it's possible to be in a community and not harm others.
How dare you? Blasphemy. That is what I've got for you. Those are 5 big things on kind of a pretty micro level of what you can do.
I like it a lot.
To be better at your mental health.
Is that it?
That's the last of it. This is a dream.
This is all.
Take money. Do whatever you want.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in this week. We hope to see you putting these into practice that we talked. Like, 'cause I felt everything was kind of interwoven like a quilt or tapestry. And I'm glad that it's not just a real loose weave. You know, we've got a very fine weave here. Everything's very tight and connected like a circle.
Tight.
Yes, exactly. If you have had any success in any of these levels or practices, let us know. We'd love to discuss. We want to hear everybody's, I guess, positives and negatives, really, because how else are we going to grow?
It's a journey.
Exactly. So tune in next week,
where we will continue our journey
and we'll see you in health.